Well, good morning from the office. Welcome back. This is George McClellan sitting in for GPKP, and we're going to talk a little political news. It comes on so fast, so furious that notes that you make the night before just seem to evaporate away. But there's some stories that just don't evaporate away. And Hillary Clinton's emails is one of them. They have now found several emails of the 30,000 she deleted, specifically relating to the Benghazi incident. And a good name for a book, Incident in Benghazi. It'll be a spy novel someday. I might write it. In any event, things are not looking well for her campaign. And if you listen to the talking heads on radio and television, things aren't looking good for Trump's campaign. Everybody seems to want Trump to fail for some reason, including Romney. But the GOP is keeping its Senate seats in Florida and in Arizona. Probably one or two other places. The Democrats have pulled their funding out of Indiana, is it, for their Senate candidate? So maybe that we the conservatives will keep the Senate and the House. It does not stop the fact that there is a war going on within the GOP, and the GOP is trying to sort itself out. It will have to sort itself out. It will either turn up or end up being an arm of the Democrat Party, which is now Marxist, or it will actually become a conservative party. We hear new terms applied to the Republican Party, alt-Republican. What is an alt-Republican? I haven't figured that out yet. I'm listening to talk shows on the radio, and they haven't figured it out yet, but they think they have an idea. People focus in on who they don't like. As far as news commentators, Breitbart is getting some heat from some right-wing radio commentators. But all that doesn't count. What counts is what you as an individual think and what you think should happen to America. And the one problem, the one thing right now that is of absolute importance is to realize that if Hillary Clinton becomes president and picks the Supreme Court justices, then all is done. They can ratify anything they want. They can say it's constitutional or not constitutional, and that will be that. On another point, there is a G20 summit coming up. Our dear beloved leader is heading to China, and it is suspected that he will sign a treaty, and it will not be a treaty, it'll be an accord, because treaties have to be confirmed by the Senate, but he will sign a climate treaty. And the Paris Accords, as a matter of fact, on climate control. So there's another gizmo that we have to be fearful of. And I hope that if we keep the Senate, that treaty will never, ever, 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 ever be ratified. If the Democrats get it, well, it's goodbye America, because the whole thing the whole operation of this is a one world government, and that's where these people are taking us. Anyway, I see the Fergusons. We're talking about a few things on sports. I have an announcement here. A friend of mine came in and he emailed me, and he said that he has 2 tickets for the 2017 Super Bowl. They are box seats, and they include airfare and accommodations. But he realized that when he bought them, that the same day of the Super Bowl was the day that was scheduled for his wedding, so he can't go. If you're interested and want to go instead of him, it's at St. Peter's Cathedral in New York City, 5 p.m. Her name is Louise. She will be the one in the white dress. So there you go, Lonnie. You can figure that. You can have that one. The White House on Monday, back to Obama, the White House on Monday defended President Obama's decision to enter into the Paris Climate Accord without Senate ratification, but stopped short of confirming a Chinese report that he will do so this week during his trip to China. Still, it would surprise no one if Mr. Obama and the Chinese president were to announce the ratification of the sweeping climate change agreement before the Sunday opening of the Group of 20 summit in Hangzhou, Xinjiang, China. Look it up on your maps. White House senior advisor Brian Deese said that the president has the legal authority to ratify the accord without two-thirds Senate vote required for the treaties. No, he doesn't. He can write an accord, but he cannot ratify it. That is exclusively the domain of the U.S. Senate. Mr. Deese said the pact negotiated by 195 countries in December is merely an executive agreement. That may be true. Executive agreements can be swept off the table when Trump becomes president. Several writers on the subject of government place that power in the class of executive authorities, yet this is evidently an arbitrary disposition. For if we attend carefully to its operation, it will be found to partake more of the legislative than of the executive character. And that's the secret of the whole thing. In other news today, the FBI director, Jim Comey, told us that he takes very, very seriously, if you can believe this, hacking of our NSA web sites and other government sites. I think that Mr. Comey has lost the trust of America for the FBI. The Federal Bureau of Inquiry cannot come up and say that reestablish the bona fides they once had until he made his announcement on Hillary Clinton's email scandal. Hillary purged the Benghazi emails, and there we are. We are looking at that as another potential landmine in her campaign, which she ignores. These things are just ignored. She demands that Trump submit his health records. Well, she better submit hers as well. Not only her health records, but her speeches that she made to the Wall Street firms for millions of dollars. There's a lot of questions out here, but one thing is certain: Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, is a criminal organization, and they can dance around it only so long. Well, one day soon, it's got to all come out, but it cannot be when she is president. Once she is president, everybody will be afraid to do anything, and the criminality will continue. She cannot be allowed to become president of the United States. America's at the crossroad, very serious crossroad. She keeps trying to make a connection between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Well, what is the connection? One, they're both strong men. That's pretty important. But and Trump recognizes that Putin is the leader of his country and cannot be ignored. I think that our suspicion of Putin lies in the fact that he is suspicious of us. Why? Well, the Ukraine is the first thing. The Russians were happy when they had a compliant leader of the Ukraine, but in our eagerness to stick our finger in Putin's eye, the Russians' eye, we overthrew, our CIA overthrew that government and reinstalled its own, and now we have this mess in there where even NATO is being challenged by Putin. Putin would not have assembled troops just to retake cornfields, which most of the Ukraine is. It's agricultural, flat agricultural country, good for tanks and tank warfare. But so she's trying to make a connection there, which I don't think will stick, because I think Trump is a better negotiator than Clinton. Certainly a better negotiator than John Kerry, who is telling the news media that they should not report terrorism. If you don't report it, then it's not there. It can be ignored. We are being led by a circus full of clowns. The Obama administration are incompetent, and they have people who have no experience making decisions based on what they learned from textbooks, from old philosophers whose experience was limited to the classroom themselves. But anyway, what do we got next? Let me see. Oh, yes. A Tennessee school forced students, or required students, to genuflect to Allah in a lesson of diversity. They had to get on their floor and on their knees and go through all that motion. Also, a Maryland school is now besieged, is now being sued for attempting to indoctrinate Christian children into Islam. The school is the La Planta, and it was the 11th grade, and a U.S. Marine retired and his wife are suing the school district because they don't teach the Bible. They claim they give equal treatment to Buddhism and Hinduism, but those people are out of control. We've got to take control of our schools back. If we're going to survive as a nation, it cannot be as an Islamic nation. And we cannot have this kind of influence in our schools. That kids can learn it on television. They don't need to learn it in the classroom. They can learn it by listening to me or reading my short takes. Now, you want to be really scared? Because of the alleged hacking of voting sites in several states, Homeland Security Director Jed Johnson has said that the Homeland Security will take charge of the elections in November. The first question, does that ensure a Hillary victory? You got to ask the question, because these people cannot be trusted. They simply cannot be trusted. And because of that, the whole apparatus. What are these people going to do? They're going to send in troops, armed troops, to each precinct in every state to make sure that Hillary wins and that the vote is fair. No, we need poll watchers. That's the way to do it. That's the democratic way to do it. We need volunteers, Republican volunteers, conservatives, to go to these polls on voting day and make sure the Democrats don't screw it up, because they will do it. There's evidence out there already, enough there's people convicted of it, and to prove that they are capable of stealing elections. Well, let me see. What is it about electronics in this room that turns it into molasses? Did Hillary give FaceTime at state to a suspected terror funder? That's one of the stories that is now making itself available on the internet. And did a big donor to the Clinton Foundation use links to get FaceTime while financing Hezbollah? Gilbert Chagoury. Well, that was the billionaire, half Jordanian, half Irish, I don't know what he is. His name keeps popping up in the Clinton Foundation State Department Nexus. He's looking for, all these people are looking for an end. They want influence, and when you donate thousands and thousands of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, they're looking for influence. Here's another happy one. George Washington University hires a former Al-Qaeda terrorist as a Homeland Security expert. Jesse Morton has been hired as an Islamic terrorism expert to work in George Washington University's program on extremism. It does not say whether he's given a full professorship or he's an adjunct professor like Obama was for the Constitution. But he used to go by the name Jonas Abdullah Muhammad when he served as a recruiter for the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization Hezbollah. And we don't know what his duties will be there, give firearms training perhaps, or just tell them how it's done. I would like to see his syllabus. Morton, or Muhammad, rose to prominence when he threatened the creators of South Park, the cartoon, for depicting Muhammad in a bear costume. Do you remember? For South Park watchers, you might remember that. Morton, also known as Muhammad Yusuf Abdullah Muhammad, was taken into U.S. custody in Rabat, Morocco, on October the 28th, according to court documents. First arrested by Moroccan authorities in May after being indicted in the United States. By October the 31st, he was back on U.S. soil, and now he has a job with George Washington. Where do these people come from? How do we allow them to do things like this? Why are not alarmed people, parents, who send money to these colleges down there on the lawns with a log and tar and feather and get these people out of those institutions before everybody becomes communist? I mean, I just cannot believe it, or Islamic, or whatever. This is America, folks. This is not some third world country. It might be soon if we continue going the way we go with Hillary Clinton. A federal judge in 2012 agreed that Morton deserved a harsh punishment and sentenced him to 11 and a half years in prison. But less than 3 years later, he was out and being paid by the FBI. Oh, there we are. The FBI sees him more important as an informant than they do as a potential murderer, jihadist murderer, and so now to give him cover, he has a job at George Washington University. Police cooperations receiving sentencing break is hardly a novel practice, and it is not. We did it in the military when I was an investigator. You go to the source. Information does not come from good people. It comes from bad people, and bad people who want to stay out of jail or out of the brig. So I applaud the process, but let's see where it takes us. We may never know all of those who were inspired to engage in terrorism because of revolutionary Muslim, but the sting of a recent terrorism case with ties to Morton's organization demonstrate the threat is posed to our national security. The U.S. Attorney Neil McBride reported that in a statement at the time. So here we are. We're still dicking around with half-breeds. Okay, what do we got next here? Oh, we have a new incident. I mentioned Russia. Russia is now positioning its army 50 miles from Alaska, and along the Kamchatka Peninsula. They call it the Coastal Defense Force. It's a division, and it will be completed by 2018. What do they fear? What do they know that we don't know? The administration announces new Obamacare rules, even as it collapses, as media admits the program is in trouble. Those people are in trouble, but what they're looking for, they know it's going to collapse. Obamacare, if you cannot afford, if you're making $30,000 a year, you have a $6,000 deductible, that means you've got to spend that much money before the insurance will even kick in, and then it costs you $1,300 a month, you can't afford it. And then if you don't have insurance, you can be fined or go to jail. That's the Obamacare law. It's designed to fail, and it is failing. And what they hope is that they can impose a one program where the government pays for all insurance, thereby capturing the entire economy, capturing the economy. Okay, the controversy surrounding Trump is very interesting. Trump's new TV ad on the Two Americas hits Hillary and the economy. He has put out a second TV spot for the general election, and it's backed up by bigger bucks than the first one. The first one was on immigration, you might recall. By the way, Trump has was invited to Mexico to meet with the president of Mexico. He's there now, or at least he's on his way for a meeting today. When we hear Trump's speech tonight on immigration, that should be a revelation to us. We even more. We might learn more. Trump says what he believes, and he says the wall's going to be built, and I take him at his word. Now, whether it's a brick wall all the way across, I don't think that's going to happen, but there's going to be a wall. So we'll see what happens when they report on this meeting. But the ad was received, an initial buy of $4.8 million to air in 4 key battleground states. This one is getting a lot of attention, apparently, because he's talking about the economy, and the economy in America is what, 1.6%. You can't grow with 1.6%. Obama will take that as his legacy. It's a slick ad, they say, but it would work just as well for any Republican nominee for the past 30 years. So now we have negatives bad vibes on Trump. The immigration was distinctly Trumpy, with references to a rigged system, Syrian refugees flooding in, and so forth. This one borrows the To America theme used by left-wing class warrior John Edwards in 2008, but ends up being Republican boilerplate about cutting taxes and bringing back jobs without emphasizing how Trump's economic approach differs from his predecessors. He should be all in on protectionism, scraping bad trade deals, imposing tariffs in hope of repatriating jobs, and keeping illegal foreign labor on the other side of the Mexican border. Well, in fact, he can do that by readjusting the tax laws. Right now, corporations in America pay 36% tax. If he gets it back down to the 15% or 20% that he said, that money will start pouring back in. Industry will return. Jobs possibly will be created, and manufacturing will occur again in this country. So I'm being signaled that it's time for our commercial break and to earn some money for this program. And we'll see you back in a few minutes. This is George McClellan for BKP. Good morning in the mountains.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ella J.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey in Elgin.
Better days ahead. The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited, now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT, now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East LJ. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Welcome back to Good Morning from the Office. I'm George McClellan, sitting in for Brian, BKP, who's on assignment this morning. I left off talking about Trump's newest ad, his second ad that he's actually put out. And I have to add, as a caveat, the Never Trump people have put out an ad of their own against Trump. And it follows on the, so just be aware of that. There are two ads out there. One of them is Trump's ad, and the other one is from the Never Trump people. So we have problems within the GOP that will have to be resolved one day, but we have to get Trump in as president because he is our candidate, whether you like him or not. He is our candidate. Now, why should I waste my time talking about Anthony Weiner and Uba Abedin, his wife? She split the sheet with him now, apparently. Weiner ran for mayor of New York. He got beat on that, but he's a serial sexual pervert, and he is the post-internet example of Bill Clinton. So we have these people having influence. Do they still have influence? We know Bill Clinton does. He's going to be the first husband one day, or yes, I hope not. He may be the first husband one day. But what are the national security implications of Anthony Weiner? Apart from the fact that he could have been compromised, he's removed all possibilities of that just because he went on the internet doing whatever it is that he does and people like that do. But he is still married to Uma Abedin, and she is now being examined closely by the Federal Bureau of Inquiry. National security, let me read this paragraph. This is funny and tawdry story about a degenerate, that's a good word, former congressman acting pervy on the internet. How can this have national security implications? To be sure, Weiner's latest sexting escapades, as detailed by Jazz earlier today, are a disturbing and, yes, hilarious. They're funny, but you cannot imagine that somebody would do this twice and get caught about it. Considering this degenerate first accused Andrew Breitbart, all of us The writer says all of us who worked at the big sites back then of committing a federal crime by hacking into his Twitter account when the first Wienergate revelations consumed the news cycle over Memorial Day weekend in 2011. That's been that long. It's personally so gratifying and amusing to see him humiliate himself publicly for a third time. Take a moment to remember the day Breitbart took over the podium of Wiener's press conference while the assembled news media were waiting for the disgraced congressman to respond to the photos published that morning at big government, proving that Wiener was guilty of sending the now infamous Wiener treat he denied that week. Can any of us forget? Well, I have, but I'm reminded of again. Can any of us forget where we were that day? Yes, it's hilarious to see Wiener engaged in the same behavior all over again while he continues to represent the Democratic Party on television, on the radio, at their convention, even in a non-official capacity. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaffer, retired, a former intelligence officer, was asked about the potential vulnerability Wiener poses when engaged in that kind of behavior. Wiener's continued personal habits present an opportunity for exploitation by foreign intelligence or terrorist groups. In my day, we didn't have all of these wonderful electronic things, personal cell phones and internets. So we did face-to-face interviews with people, and one of the things that would cause you to lose a security clearance was the fact that if it was proved or you admitted to having or being a homosexual. Those days are past. But in those days, if the Russians found out, or the Poles or these Germans, the Eastern Bloc found out that you were a homosexual, had a security clearance, and had access, then that was used against you so that you would become their agent. Happened all the time. We did the same thing to them, but the Russians already knew who their homosexuals were. So it was it's a tawdry business, but it's important. So today we have this new thing. Colonel Schaffer went on to say that a continued relationship between Abadan and Wiener, which is since 2011, reflects on the former's ability to serve at the highest levels of government. So they're saying the suspicion rises, is Uma Abadan in a position where, yes, she is, but does she provide information to Anthony Weiner, who may be compromised? By her marriage to Weiner, Abadan cannot be considered to be either reliable due to the personal stress that comes with being married to an emotionally unstable person. That's absolutely true. And those are the things that counterintelligence agents, like I have spent many years doing, look for. We look for these little clues. That was a big clue, I have to say. Schaffer said that Schaffer opined that his strategy would be that if he was conducting an operation on a foreign government and they knew a spouse to someone close to the nation's leader was engaged in habitual sexual conduct, that it would be a target to go after. Well, internet changed that. Weiner changed that. He compromised himself. That Uma Abedin stayed with him is the question. And that's the question that the security services will be looking for now, particularly the Federal Bureau. All this would be an intelligence operator's dream, to find the opportunity to gain access to intelligence and have the ability to manipulate a nation's political figure with such direct access. We know that Uma Abedin and Hillary Clinton are so close. They're just like sisters. That Hillary Clinton sees nothing untoward in her relationship with Uma Abedin. There are other things that have been suggested. I will not go there. And what if the Clinton administration promised a firewall between Abedin and Weiner, like the firewall they have built between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation? There's a good question. People will have to be looking at that. It doesn't work that way. Spouses will have access to scheduling contact, state of mind of Huma and of the Clintons. These are all things that are open to examination by foreign counterintelligence agency. This is far more important than access to classified data. It's influence, not the written word. It's not the classified data that they're looking for. It's the influence that they can have, and that's important. This very real threat and the obvious political distraction just months before Clinton's big presidential election day may explain why Uba Abedin finally sent Carlos Danger, that's Anthony Weiner, his walking papers today. Let's face it, Weiner's disturbing behavior could very well have endangered his wife's ability to have the coveted chief of staff position many are expecting that she will have if Hillary becomes president. So the implications of the intelligence field are shockingly busy. I mean, there's people, everybody has a job. Doesn't Donald Trump know, is the headline, the next headline we'll discuss, that only Democrats are allowed to politicize a tragic gun death. The outrage over Donald Trump's tweet, well, of course they get outraged over all these tweets. That's an interesting word, outrage. Who gets outraged? Nobody gets outraged. We get shocked, we're surprised, we tisk. Nobody gets outraged except the left, okay? The outrage over Donald Trump's tweet equating this weekend's shooting death of NBA star Dwayne Wade's cousin in Chicago with failed policies of the Democratic Party in relation to the crime and violence in African American communities was loud and unanimous on the left. Well, what they're denying is the failure of liberalism in inner cities. Chicago is a perfect example. Detroit is a perfect example. And anybody who focuses on that points the finger at the failure of progressivism and liberalism as a political entity that works will be harassed and beaten back. So the Twitter feeds go nuts. I'm not a Twitter person, so I'm not even going to read the Twitter feed, but just be aware. What Trump is really pointing out is the failure of liberal government. The failure of liberal government. Because they don't use the Constitution, they don't follow the Constitution, it means nothing. If you believe in polls, they have, now it says a new poll shows that Trump and Hillary Clinton are tied in Ohio. I'll bet you John Kasich is beside himself with pain worried about that. Kasich is not a friend of Donald Trump. Kasich is one of the old guard, and he violated his promise, as did others, to support the GOP nominee. So he's one of those people, like I explained yesterday, who sets off in a huff, purses their lips and pouts, but will not play. Takes his ball and goes home. Emerson College is the source of this polling, which somewhat famously caught Marco Rubio's surge in Iowa just before this year's caucus, and which enjoys a respectable B rating from 538 post-convention polls of Ohio. Well, the poll that's important to me is the fact that Hillary is not having conferences. Hillary rarely goes out anymore. When she does have a town hall or some meeting, the press, no one is allowed to question her. She makes her speech, and they have to pay people off the street to come in and listen to it, and to pay them more if they cheer. The best poll is what Trump gets when he shows up in a place. When he says he's going to be at a stadium or at a venue, the place fills up and to overflowing. I think that's a poll that can't be ignored. Well, I'm being signaled that it's time for another break so we can get some word from our sponsors.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ella J.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ella J.
Better days ahead.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited, now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT, now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down, going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East LJ. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Well, good morning from the office. This is George McClellan sitting in for BKP this nice Wednesday morning. In the whole of all the political stories out there, the one that still matters the most, that keeps coming back all the time, is immigration. Specifically, illegal immigration. And now we have the immigration of refugees, which is different from illegal immigrants because our government is bringing them in, tens of thousands of jihadists in Syrian disguise. That's a problem that will surface down the road when they start demanding that we recognize their religion and their law as opposed to the Constitution of the United States. The next century for America is going to be a hard one. The next decade is going to be particularly hard. But we still have the problem of illegal immigration and how we can face the unbearable cost of illegal immigration. Donald Trump opened that festering wound, God bless him. of failed progressive policies that is afflicting America. And I want the GOP to take note, because Trump has shown you the way that it is now okay to talk about illegal immigration and its odious fallout, the sanctuary city program, in actual terms of their dysfunction, without feeling the wrath of the left screaming approbations of racism. They do, but it falls on deaf ears. Good questions are now being asked that deserve honest answers. The first hindrance to that discussion, of course, is the new Democratic Party, the Marxists, in its policies and totally incompetent in their application. One argument from the left is the illegals still pay taxes. And to lose that source of revenue, cities and states would not have the ability to fund their necessary social programs. Well, that's nonsense. They send their money home to Mexico. They're illegal, so they're not paying taxes anyway. So the left introduces tax revenue as their primary argument to keep the borders open and maintain sanctuary cities. Let's meet the argument. In the United States, between $14 and $25 billion are spent on welfare programs for illegals. Nearly $8 billion goes to Medicaid for illegals. $12 billion is spent on pre-high school education for illegals. $27 billion is spent on education for children born here to illegal immigrants. $3 million per day is spent on incarcerating illegals. Obama is turning them out as fast as he can from federal prisons so they can continue the depredation, so there's a new cost involved there. The federal prison population of illegals approaches 28%, and that does not include the thousands of felons the Department of Homeland Security just released back into our population under Obama's emancipation program. Government spends $190 billion taxpayer dollars a year on welfare and other social services for illegals. Add to those dismal figures the estimated $200 billion of wages lost to real Americans by illegal employment, who send their money home to their own families in Mexico, Colombia, and Nicaragua. This amount is estimated to be around $65 billion. Except for mentioning the estimated cost of incarcerating illegals in our prisons, the high cost of maintaining police forces to hold down illegal caused crime and prosecute them is staggering, particularly on a local level. Illegal crime rate is 2.5 times greater than white legal immigrant citizens. Illegal immigrant children have a higher school dropout rate, nearly 67%, because they don't or won't learn English as a primary or secondary language. What is the cost of the murder of one member of an American family by an illegal deported 5 times or more? As we saw in San Francisco, death most often comes unexpectedly, suddenly, and violently, and hails of gunfire or grinding car crashes. Military members going into combat expect it going in. A woman with her children in the car doesn't expect death from an illegal driver incapacitated by alcohol or drugs. If these people can be repatriated and made unable to return, think how much our highways would be freed up. The control of imported diseases like tuberculosis, hepatitis, influenzas, polio would be seriously reduced. We do that for our imported food sources. Why not illegals? I could go on, but what about solutions? How's this for an idea? If a Norteamericano gringo, that's you and me, choose to reside in beautiful Mexico, by their laws, we would not be able or permitted to maintain a U.S. bank account. Let's make that same requirement here for all illegals. No more for all immigrants. No more Western Union money transfers. All banking first, right here in America. That should self-deport a lot. Illegals who own property here should be notified, given 90 days to sell their property, to salvage their investment. We have to be fair. Or the government will then seize it and sell it. Local governments are already doing this to U.S. citizens under forfeiture laws. Most of that is simple larceny, but so what? So what? It's still a forfeiture law and it's being done anyway. What is America's cost for illegal immigration? How about over $500 billion a year? And that's my thought on illegal immigration. As a final few thoughts, we have to discuss the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation, prima facie, at first glance, on the surface, at first view, is a criminal organization. How have they managed to protect themselves from FBI criminality investigations? Do you ever see or feel like all of Washington's regulatory ethics and law enforcement agencies look at Bill and Hillary and just shrug? Well, they're the Clintons. They're going to get away with it again. Last week, former Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell, a very close Clinton ally, caused a stir when he suggested that if the Clintons win the presidency, the Clinton Foundation, formerly named the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation, would have to be disbanded. Well, they're not going to do that. I think Ed Rendell, we might find him dead in his bathtub one day. I know it'll be hard for President Clinton because, and he's talking about Bill, because he cares very deeply about what the foundation has done. Rendell told the New York Daily News, it's impossible to keep the foundation open without at least the appearance of a problem. Do we have a problem here? I'm wondering. The appearance of a problem to which Rendell refers is presumably the fact that foreign governments and foreign citizens could give unlimited amounts of money to the foundation, donations that would look like bribes to skeptical outside observers. The Clinton defenders quickly point out that Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea do not collect salaries from that foundation and thus do not personally benefit from it, except the foundation pays for the family's travel expenses, which are huge. They're more than most people's salaries. They disclose that the family may require the need to travel by charter or first class because extraordinary security and other requirements. The Clintons get nothing from the foundation except free travel on chartered jets and first class airline seats and hotel stays, five-star and up, and oh yes, control over a giant operating budget to steer to the charities and good causes that they prefer. They get practically nothing. What little they do get, 60% Hillary donates back to charity. Oh, what charity? Why, the Clinton Foundation, of course. And so she gets to write that off. In any case, Rendell has recanted, suggested that President Clinton would merely need to keep the foundation at arm's length during her term, so we will not find him dead in a bathtub, drowned with a bullet hole in his head. I think that if the Secretary Clinton becomes president, she obviously can have no further involvement with it, can ask for money for the foundation, and they may decide to let partners carry on, and that's the plan we hear in the news today. And this report was a couple of days ago. There's no way to put new limits on the Clinton Foundation's voracious donation system without admitting the old ones were ethnically insufficient. Ethically insufficient. I love how they frame things. By the way, everybody should invest in a thesaurus and a book of synonyms and antonyms so we can figure out what they're telling us. Before her confirmation as Secretary of State, remember this, Clinton did agree that the foundation would check with the State Department Ethics Office before accepting a donation from a foreign government that had not previously given to the group. In other words, one organization controlled by Bill Clinton had to get approval from another organization controlled by Hillary Clinton Even this minimal rule was ignored in 2010. The Clinton Foundation forgot to check on a $500,000 donation from the Algerian government. Are we talking crime here? Is this RICO? I think so. In early August, the Clinton News Network reported that the FBI suspected criminal acts had been committed by the Clinton Foundation. 3 field officers were in agreement. An investigation should be launched after the FBI received notification from a bank of a suspicious activity from a foreigner who had donated to the Clinton Foundation, but the Department of Justice ruled there was insufficient evidence to open a case. Where are we going to go? We've got a corrupt Justice Department, but we knew that. Anybody who meets Bill Clinton on a airport tarmac far out in the west, in a little dinky airport, that has to be corrupted. To recap, foreign governments and individuals give large amounts of cash to an account controlled by the Secretary of State and likely future president, an agreement that smells fishy to the FBI and looks corrupt to everyone not within the Clintons' orbit. But the Department of Justice tells everybody not to worry. Perhaps the Clinton Foundation's next major project will be an initiative studying why so many Americans no longer trust their leaders, and that includes the FBI. Listen, I want to thank you for listening to my little nonsense this morning, and I appreciate BKP giving me the opportunity to sit in for him for this hour. I'll see you tomorrow with BKP, unless something else happens. But this is George McClellan from Good Morning from the Office, saying y'all have a good day out there. It's going to be beautiful in the North Georgia mountains. If you're a motorcycle, go riding. Thank you.